Hi everyone. So the explanations will be a little more in brief because of the 10,000 plus students who are watching it.
We've taken five residential projects, all located within the same temperature, same climate locations, out of which four are in Rajasthan and one is in Gandhinagar. Very, very similar, hot climates, brief winters, and in each case, the way contextual responses have been derived and addressed are very diverse in nature. So, starting with the Mirai House of Arches, which is in Bhilwara, we did this house during COVID, and based on what materials were available within this location, Vedic bricks made from the site itself. That's the plot, which is a 500 square meter corner plot within a huge residential complex of 200 bungalows. So these are the Vedic bricks, all the labor sourced from around the site, and lime plastered walls inside. The footprint of the house, based on the client's needs, was 9,000 square feet split in three levels. And these are the temperatures that we are all aware of. So, how does one take care of this excessive heat during 8 months of the summer when temperatures are in excess of 45 degrees? So, we created this whole envelope around the building, derived from traditional architecture, where sheltered walkways were part of every architectural heritage, palace, or house in Rajasthan.
Subscribe to watch more such insightful videos.
So, because of the small site, we had a very restricted amount of open space. It was only 4.5 meters. So, we convinced the client not to make a compound wall and extend out till the pavement so that it becomes 9 meter on the two corners. This house has a footprint which is reasonably small of 3,000 square feet, but within that small footprint and the simple rectilinear plan, which is based on Vastu because of the client's requirements, the entire play is within the volumes. So there are three different volumes as one traverses this house. So a dining space which is 2 floors high, a living space which is 1.5 floors high. So at every point in the house, even though the footprint again is 3,000 square feet, is smaller than this hall that we are sitting in, you keep seeing these different volumes as you go past. And what this envelope has done is created a much cooler internal space in the house at every point. And each room has these interstitial spaces to spill out on. The best compliment came from the client after they'd used the house for a few months, saying that, you really addressed our problems. We have three generations, but each one has their own space, and then there are these common spaces where everybody meets. So we've got our individuality as well as we've got our community spaces. The next house is one that we've done in Jaipur. It is located within this neighborhood, which is very close to a large army track, but our house is within a very dense neighborhood of largely villas. So this is the site. There was, in this case, an existing house, and the family had grown larger, so a part of the family was to move towards this new house. Those are photographs of the vicinity just to give you an idea as to what kind of architecture surrounds it. So sometimes there is actually no context in terms of the architectural character. So the first thing when we saw this site was these amazing trees which are 3 floors high, and that literally governed the entire footprint of the house. So these are the trees, and how the house was used earlier is that there was a large central garden where the house used privately, and they had made this separate garden which is only for outdoor parties. So that's why these trees are only along the boundary here, and there's a clear distinction. So the new house is located exactly between these trees on the northern side of the site. But when you see the requirements that they needed with 8 bedrooms totally, a health club, a study space, and all of that, the house would have been 4 levels high. And the moment you go 4 levels high, you cross the 30 feet high trees. Thereby, there would be no privacy between the two houses. So we decided to take the entire house below ground and create a subterranean flow. And then this courtyard is extended out towards the southern side, giving complete natural light, even though there is what one would term as a basement, but it's basically a subterranean flow. And this courtyard then facilitates natural cross ventilation and keeps the house cool. So these are images from the courtyard looking out towards the existing trees on the southern side. The second, so this is, you can see the proximity of the house and the living spaces towards the existing trees. So you come out of that bustling street outside, you enter this house, and then each portion of this house is actually surrounded by trees like this. So you really don't know where you are once you're in this house, just surrounded by nature, the kind of spaces. And then this is the way the volumes were articulated level by level, each one stepping back. And in response to the sun direction, on the south, east, and the west, the house is completely screened. So this does two things. It reduces the heat and at the same time reduces the noise from the arterial road that this plot sits on. And the third important factor is, again, to address the climate and the hot summers, there are interstitial spaces created for every room at every level. So once you're within the house, you have enclosed space and then you have sheltered space where you walk out from in each space. And none of this is visible to the outside, completely private with different kinds of seating areas outside, sunken at the level, in the garden, by the garden, in the courtyard. So that's the way the house steps back, creating terraces at every point. The roof is done with lime tiles, which are locally sourced from Jodhpur. These tiles, believe it or not, in 40 degrees, you can walk bare feet on them. And this tile costs less than 20 rupees a square foot. These are all locally available materials. So these are cross sections which show how the ventilation is achieved by passive cooling. So this is the house as it sits along that arterial road, complete privacy to the inner spaces. So you actually don't know what you're looking at, but when you're within the house, each part opens up very interestingly to the outside, to nature in every single part. Very simple interior palette, exposed roofs in concrete, and minimal interior embellishments. So at every point, you get this totally different relation from the inside to the outside. Again, here, there are three generations living. This is the third house. This is the first time we actually did something which was totally traditional. So the client, when he came to us, actually asked us to build a miniature Umaid Bhavan. It took a long while to convince him that the Umaid Bhavan cannot be replicated. So let's do something that suits the kind of site that you have. So this house is based on the principle of creating a very large courtyard within, but not just that. It has a series of external courtyards wrapping the entire building and creating spaces that one can walk out to from every part of the house, which are completely sheltered. The entire house is built in actual stone, and believe it or not, when it's 42 degrees outside, you don't need an air conditioner inside in any part of this house. This is the way the volumes relate. There's a volumetric movement step by step with four different kinds of heights within the house. So everything is seen as this interesting cuboid composition of solid stone walls, arcades, and stone screens. So that's the walkway that leads you to the house from a sheltered canopy. And all of those pergolas are also real solid stone, 3 inches thick. This is the central courtyard that punctuates the entire space and again is cool throughout the day. You got very interesting light patterns which change constantly wherever you're in the house at whichever time. Now there'll be a small video which will actually explain the spaces in a much better way. So you'll get to experience those spaces. Nothing is staged, and these are all real. These are the people who actually use the house. Thank you, thank you. So, the interiors of this house as well as Mirai were both done by Nina and Tanya. And this is the last of the houses. This one is in Gandhinagar. It was actually designed and constructed 10 years ago, and after which the client decided to go into some businesses and he just left the house like this. So RCC was lying complete for literally 10 years before the interior was done, and the interior was finished a few months ago. So this is a totally different language, which again is based on how the site was. So this is the location, and here you can count 9 existing trees on this site, and we've literally placed the house between those 9 trees. in an interesting way where each room is overlooking those trees. In one case, the tree is actually going through the deck, and all the garden is on the northern side. So these are cross sections. Once again, here, because we do not want the house to look like it's 3 levels high, we've taken a subterranean level and opened that up to the courtyard. So the house from the outside just looks like 2 levels, very grounded, and at the same time has enough spaces based on the client's requirements. This is the house from the northern side facing the garden. Large overhangs up to 16 feet deep protect the inner spaces from harsh sunlight. So you get indirect light in each part of the house, and mostly, generally, what architects would love to do is create a house that is visible or create architecture that is visible from everywhere. Here, it's actually hidden by the trees in all parts. So you never get to see this house complete simply because of the way it is located between those 9 existing trees. So this is the sunken courtyard, which allows light into the inner sides, and these are all the spaces that are overhanging, creating lots of sheltered space for every part of the house, overlooking a large garden on the north. So this is an aerial view showing all those existing trees exactly the way they were when we started the house. Once again, this is the sunken courtyard with the trees existing. So these trees are literally, you can touch the branches from the balconies. It's that close. And that's the tree that goes through the deck, which he managed to retain. So very interesting philo spaces in every part of this house with sheltered volumes all throughout. So the idea everywhere is to create this nice open sheltered space so that one can feel like you can just walk out into the open, but you're not exposed to the harsh sunlight. In this case, the interior has been done by Nina and Aisha. Very, very simple, very subdued, just a touch of color, celebrating the space as it is. That's the subterranean space. So even here, there's complete natural light coming in from the staircase and from the sunken courtyard. Tiny movie on this. So you only see the house in glimpses like this between the trees. There is no side from where you can see the entire house together. So that was four houses. Thank you very much. Four houses in the same kind of climate with completely different design languages to address the same common factor of the excessive heat that is prevalent in all of these cases. The last project is an apartment building. So here, when we were given this apartment building to build in Udaipur, which has got so much character, you study and you look at all these buildings when you're traveling the city from any side, the chances are that you will pass one of these. Of course, right now we are on the outskirts, so you're not going to be seeing any of this unless you go into the city. These kind of elements that have been part of architecture all through, and then what has happened in the last few years. Very plain, simple, not that there's anything wrong with these buildings, but it's just that when you look at this building, it could be anywhere. It doesn't look like it belongs to Jaipur or to Rajasthan. So he said it's going to be a tough one. How do you make an apartment building which is high rise without copying domes and moldings and everything, still make it look like it belongs in some way, in some sense, to this city? And then the site and its restraints. So you have a square site which has got fabulous views of the Aravali on both sides. But then you have some kind of crazy FSI. So this, of course, is the sun and wind direction and how the site is located. And this is the restraint that we had to work with. So you've got the required open space to be left, and then you have a high FSI, and then you have a 70-meter height restriction. So it's literally like somebody telling you, this is the rectangle, and you need to build this rectangle exactly to this height, and that's the only way you will be able to consume the FSI that's available on the plot. And because this is a developer project, there is obviously no getting out of that. So we've split this into four quadrants to create cross ventilation with four apartments a floor, each one four bedroom, and then created double height balcony spaces on all four corners. In addition, there is a whole skin of balconies that wraps the entire building to reduce the heat gain into the building. So there are three kinds of buildings, three kind of balconies to the apartments. One which is deeply recessed with a railing and is open, one which has screens that you can move, and then one which is 2 floors high. So the 2 floor high ones form the four corners. And then each one of these is created with a jali screen that protects the inner spaces from the excessive heat prevalent in Udaipur. So there's an odd floor plan and an even floor plan that alternates. The screen is derived from one of the screens that is used in the Udaipur Lake Palace. And this is the site layout with the four apartments per floor. You can see it's very, very dense, but by cutting into the core, we managed to create cross ventilation and natural light for every single room, including the bathrooms, which unfortunately is not the case with a lot of buildings being built in India right now, especially in Bombay, where bathrooms and kitchens are deriving light through ducts, which essentially means that there is no light, there is only forced ventilation. So this is the building as it is completed a few months ago. Very simple look, but at the same time a very sculpted look. And most importantly, it is pertinent to the climate. So these apartments again need very less air conditioning compared to normal apartments because they're all shielded from the outside. That's a rooftop pool. And that's the corner of the building. These jali screens are made out of indo wood, which is a particle board which is created out of rice husk. So it's also a very sustainable product. And a tiny movie on this, and that will complete the presentation. This site is located in a rapidly urbanizing area in Udaipur, Rajasthan.
surrounded by hills on all four sides.
Sorry, you'll have to listen to me explain it 2 times.
The 21-story apartment building that we've designed has 4 apartments to each floor, each one forming a quadrant of the total square plan that the building has. With this, each apartment looks out in 2 directions towards the hills in the surroundings. Every room of every apartment opens out into balcony spaces, so there is this envelope created of semi-sheltered spaces throughout the building facade, and this forms a very important aspect in reducing the heat gain in response to the hot summer climate of Udaipur. To create privacy and further mitigate heat gain, these sheltered decks have perforated screens which allude to the traditional architectural elements of the heritage of Rajasthan, where stone screens were used in palaces and homes through centuries to reduce the heat gain inside. So each apartment is planned with 5 sheltered balcony spaces. 4 of these are 10 feet high and one is 20 feet high. Alternate balconies are screened, and the screened balconies too have sliding screens which allow one to open those screens. So now you have a choice whether you want to sit in a completely open balcony, completely shielded balcony, or a semi-shielded balcony. The screens create this very interesting light and shadow pattern that constantly changes throughout the day. So the design of this building capitalizes on the views that are available in all 4 directions, giving every single user the choice of 2 different views from their apartment. While this is a high-rise building in a rapidly urbanizing area of Udaipur, it takes cognizance of the climate. It alludes to the traditional architecture of the region, thereby making it contextual to the surroundings.
Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.